Hello there, Divya. I'm glad you found your way here, but it seems you are unaware of the dangers of this place. I hope you're ready for what is in store for the next few hours, for this is not for the light of heart. This, my friends, is where dreams come to die. This is where those who have struggled, who have fallen with their backs against the wall, come to fight their last, to find that final light from spring and carry with it their dreams of glory. The dreams of an LJL title against all the odds, to J-Ram with the finest, to burn brighter than ever before, to soar high against the wind. The stakes do not get higher, to change the fate of a tough season, to betray the established order, to prove your power. A core that has never burned brighter than now, a hawk that has never soared higher than before. Today, one team will make the LJL second round for the very first time. One team must go forwards, but yet another must repeat history. This is a series where hope can be rekindled, where the winner survives and those who fall cannot stand again. This is round one of the lower bracket of the LJL playoffs. Today, a core burns or a hawk soars. I, Temporal, am joined by, for this series in the lowest of brackets, by three experts. Please greet my fellow guides on the desk, Oak, Beautiful Crow, and Nightmare. Gentlemen, we have a series.
And we have a monologue? I didn't know we had, okay, I did actually know briefly we had a monologue. This is the first time I'd heard it though. And what a way to set up this matchup. Glad to be on the desk again. Glad to be back.
Oh my
No, I'm
goodness.
also very excited to be here. This is a matchup that I think we've all been anticipating with the eager eyes. We thought that we'd be seeing SoftBank Hawks on Wednesday, but here they are today instead. So I'm very excited.
Super excited to be here as well, guys. Waking up, crack of dawn, bright and early to watch some good old League of Legends actions on my end. Couldn't be happier.
All right, slightly forced monologue aside, let's bring it out. Let's get started. Let's introduce our viewers to Burning Core and the Fukuoka SoftBank Hawks gaming. Let's go over some standings, gentlemen. Let's get these teams shown off.
Okay, so obviously, both these teams had interesting last year's season as a whole. Burning Core obviously had an awful 2021, but they finished fourth. Now, you would have thought, hey, fourth, that means that they're doing pretty well for themselves. But the Hawks, while they had an early, kind of a rough start to the split, they've come in at sixth, they snuck into playoffs, and now suddenly, even though these two are kind of, this lower bracket, fourth versus sixth, you might think that they're lower skill. I don't think that's the case.
Absolutely. It's weird seeing how Hawks have managed to kind of get a rising tide, I guess I should say, in terms of power level. At the same time, Burning Core, especially their midfield, in the second round robin, really started to struggle, and we're only really starting to see them regain some of that strength.
Yeah, I definitely want to echo off of the back of that. It's Burning Core's second part. The good little middle of that round robin was not so great for them, and Hawks were able to turn their luck around because we saw them just like falter after each close game, and it shows them catching up in the standings right here. So really great on them to turn their season around and make it in the playoffs.
So one faltering team and one that had to turn it all around from a difficult start. Gentlemen, let's bring it back into the playoff bracket because we've shown off the regular season, but that doesn't matter anymore. We're here. We're on for round one, match two. The winner of this match must face that most lethal of opponents in Rascal Jesters. Bracket so far, how do you see the trajectory of this team coming up through the playoffs?
Well, obviously, we talked about that regular season. We said, okay, bit of struggles here for both these teams at different points in the split, but they both have made playoffs at this point. At this point, regular season doesn't matter. You mentioned that too, but it does matter to a certain extent because you have to have some kind of rocket fuel to reach the level that Rascal Jesters showed in their series the other day. Now, Oak, I know you were casting that one. I'd love to hear your thoughts on the series and how both these teams match up against them, because on first glance, I'm sat here going, you need some rocket fuel to get to that level.
Absolutely, and I think Rascal Jesters kind of showed what should be coming into playoffs, and currently what Burning Core and SoftBank Hawks, what we can expect from them, because Rascal Jesters especially came out fighting, brand new picks, innovative play style, but pre-15 minutes that we hadn't seen from them before. This was the kind of change in pace and change in gameplay that playoffs is really meant to be bringing forwards, and it's going to be the same for Burning Core and Hawks, who both have their own issues. Burning Core obviously sometimes struggling if Flawless cannot get on some key picks. Hawks, who can find early leads, but really struggled to translate that past 15 minutes. These are the two kind of adaptation or improvements we should be looking towards.
Yeah, I 100% agree. I did catch that little bit of a shellacking that Rascal Jester was able to dish out the other day, and I'm just like, wow, this team looks very scary. Definitely a formidable opponent to beat, and it does leave you wondering which of these two teams would be best tasked for the job, in my opinion. Definitely after watching back these games, I do think that either of them could give a solid run, but it would definitely take a Super Saiyan-esque transformation for one of them to actually beat the juggernaut that is Rascal Jester going forward.
So not only a huge amount of effort needed to push themselves, either team here, for the first time out of the first round in the modern LJL, but to overcome an even tougher challenge that waits just around the corner. So that is the sort of journey these teams will have to take. But their first stumbling block, this first hurdle, are each other. The head-to-head, gentlemen. Who wants to go first? Open to the floor. Who has feelings about how these teams have met through those 3 round robins?
Oh, I mean, I'd love to talk about this Yasuo Diana because it's been quite a key pickup for Burning Core, and I think we're seeing it represented here in their 3 games. In the first game against Hawks, they did a very good job of using this combination in combination with that Darius in the top lane, something else that we'll be looking towards as this progresses. And this was really, really well handled by Burning Core, and Hawks were kind of left scrambling. I think you can see that only one player, who's definitely a highlight for the other side, really came out, doing okay. Then they struggled mid-split. The Yasuo didn't work out so much. So we've seen some new picks come out from Flawless. And this is really where my eyes are going to be, at least. It's like, okay, well, Burning Core, earlier drafts, not working out anymore. What kind of adaptations can they bring?
Well, one of the adaptations they did make, and this is a player which I've had a soft spot for a very long time, because Burning Core have Rayfarki, and this player, you can see him playing the Darius in that first matchup, playing the Camille, he has those carries, but actually in the last couple of games of the split, was playing the tank Gragas, and this is a pick which I had criticized from Burning Core last season, when Rayfarki was effectively their only win condition. He's on a carry, maybe he can do something, but actually playing the tank Gragas, being so disruptive in team fights, I think he showed what you can do where you have a more stable rest of the map for this player, and it's a good look for Rayfarki. But then, obviously, looking over to the other side on the Hawks, this wasn't a blowout set of matches. Though, as you said, Burning Core struggled in the mid-split, but that's where the Hawks started to start coming back to life. And I think a lot of that, for me, came around their mid laner and Dasha. Now, they've been doing very well throughout a lot of struggling rosters. Dasha has been on a number of struggling rosters before in terms of the Hawks in itself, and he's managed to keep that consistency, and it's allowed the Hawks to have this more stable point in the map.
Yeah, I 100% agree. Like on these past few games, just looking at the histories and looking at the past few played, Namera had mentioned the top Gragas and how Burning Core picked that up. And yeah, Rayfarki, he very much got on Tank Gragas duty. Last 7 games, I want to say, of the LJL, he was on this pick, and he went 4 wins, 3 losses on it. So it definitely has been working out for them. But yeah, the man can play basically anything and make it work, as he has shown. Both these top laners, amazing players for their team, and I really do want to, when we get to this best of 5s, I love best of 5s, the ability to adapt in between each match, in between.
Okay, so that's one off the bingo card for what we're going to say on the desk. We've got adaptation. What else do we want to put on there?
Storylines,
storyline narratives, we can go through the whole thing. But yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to seeing how Burning Core can keep this momentum going. Like they have the 2-1, and hey, that's a good thing going into a best of 5, knowing that it's like, okay, out of 3 scenarios, we've won.
Head-to-head hurts. The head-to-head helps. It definitely works.
Head-to-head really helps. All right, we know the Burning Core have the mental advantage, have that winning record in the regular split. I'm going to blow it out a little further. There's nothing we love on the LJL more than a little bit of a jaunt through history. So I think we're going to start with Burning Core, and I think we're just going to display a little bit of what the Core have been up to in previous years.
Yeah, well, I think this is actually a graphic about the both of them. So this is where I get on my soapbox, and we talked about, what do we love here more than narratives? We love history a lot here too, because both these teams have had very different pasts. The Hawks came in spring 2020. That was actually the split where we started this stream, and they sucked. Like, there's no other way to put it. They came in bringing Ramone out of, not retirement, but out of a substitute position, one of the real gods of the LJL, back into the mid lane. Dasher was put into the top lane. He just had a great season on Unsold Stuff Gaming before they were replaced with the Hawks as a roster. And they came dead last, and they couldn't make anything work. And it really took a while for them to start getting themselves into the equation, but they started to build. They brought in last year, Corporal came in for a bit. They started changing around the roster again. Tussle was still on the roster, and they started racking up some playoffs appearances, but they really haven't found that success in playoffs just yet, but they are continuing to build. This is, of course, their 4th playoffs they have made, including the 3 beforehand. You compare that to Burning Core, who have been in the league since 2017 summer. While the modern era of the LJL has happened, they have made playoffs once. I mean, before that, there was only the top 3 teams went to playoffs. They'd made 4th place before, so maybe this graphic does them a little bit of disservice in that, right? They have been a mid to upper table team before. They just haven't really made it into the real top echelons yet. But neither of these teams, when they have made it into playoffs in the modern era of the LJL, have made it past that first round. They have finished, they have bombed out at 5th, 6th, sometimes and actually in both times I can think of recently in 5-game series. Burning Core, summer 2020, they lost to DFM. They very nearly beat them in a best of 5. And I think, holy heck, that's actually a good result. Maybe that doesn't show up on the graphic either. But what it means, though, still is the results have not gone these teams' way. And one of these teams will be progressing past that point today.
For the first time ever, Burning Core, or the Fukuoka SoftBank Hawks Gaming, will be proceeding through to that second round. Whether the dream lives any longer up against a Rascal Jester, who many have seen as the only rivals to DFM, the start of that rock, paper, scissors into DFM and Sengoku Gaming, is yet to be seen. But for these 2 teams, a chance to get out. Nonetheless, we're going to go over some current form for these teams. As we saw, Burning Core won that last head-to-head, but scores per round robin tell a slightly different story.
Look, I just talked about the history and stuff. You guys can take this one. That's like I need to reset all my cooldowns now.
Reset cooldowns, right? Gotcha.
His ult will be back up again soon. We'll open the history textbook when that's the case.
So you can see in this round robin in the 3rd, I mean, you could look at the second one first, because this is where Burning Core started to struggle more recently, though. They've been taken back into form again. This has really been through Flawless, having a few new picks coming in. So we've seen the Kindred, which got a highlight point specifically against SoftBank Hawks. But there's also, it seems like he's investing into the Viego as well, and other picks that could revitalize this. When you combo this with Ray Farkey, who's recently bought in the Gragas, and dare I say, the best Gragas in LJL. And
one
then
of the few
finally,
which is playing it well, for sure, yeah.
Exactly, for sure. And combo that with maybe Yuhi and Fuji, especially Fuji, being on map, being on timers to roam, creating space for Flawless and Dice to do their own roles within the team. It's looking really, really good for Burning Core once again after a fantastic start and then a bit of a middling mid-split.
But a quick aside with this, right? Because you look at all these things put together and you think, okay, well, they're a bit back and forth and stuff. Just a quick reminder for those of you that that haven't followed around Burning Core, because they have been a bottom table team for a while. The wins they have in this split outweigh their entire season last season. They really hit rock bottom. They couldn't get anything working. So even though we're talking about, a rise and fall in form and all this other stuff, at least they've had those highs. That's not something they've had for a while, actually.
They've already eclipsed last year and most of the year before it. It's completely ludicrous. And the glow up, indeed, for Burning Core this year, the coming online and the heating up of this team, well and truly online. I've cut you off, Crow, because you're going to take us through most of Fukuoka SoftBank Hawks' main season performance.
Awesome. Love that for me. Yes. Awesome.
Explain this. What happened, Crow?
Oh, God. Well, you see what happened here. I don't know how comms are behind the scenes or how the coaching works per se, but I do have my inside sources saying that the Hawks coached after their abysmal first round robin, just, went to the old teacher method, got the paddle, said, all right, everybody, let's go to work, and completely whipped them into shape.
The comms probably went like this. First round robin.
Yes, for sure. And then second round robin, they're like, oh, wait. We can do this. We can do this. Yes, we're gonna do this. So you definitely see that big upswing because, like, coming into this, watching Hawks in the first half, I loved watching their games back because there's like literally 2 or 3 mistakes you can see in the first few weeks where like, had they actually played as a team right here, had someone not moved out of the way, had Dasher actually connected with a skill shot, that record would be completely different because it wasn't like V3 where they just got completely smashed in all of their games. There were actually some competitive close games in that 1-6. And during round robin number 2 was when you actually saw their ideas, their plans, their plays actually connect. Like all the circuits are connecting. It's like, oh wait, I see the picture now. It's not just an abstract paint to board type deal. So love to see that upswing and Blank and Dasher actually working together, making things happen. Blank almost showing us some old LCK brilliance in a few of those games for sure. And it kind of crested a little bit. And then round robin number 3, they're like, all right, we've done good enough. We're here.
Yeah, and I think you can combo that with how Reiner's been as well, because Reiner, a very inconsistent player this split, but on stuff like the Rel, has looked really, really good. And combine that with Kanatsu, who's been, a very good player from last year, who comes in, and especially on stuff like the Graves, has actually looked not half bad in some of the later games. Yeah, I'm excited to see how they handle players.
And I think, we can probably point some names at a couple of matchups here. And I think that Reiner is someone that I very much want to step up as well. If I'm going to sit here as the old fogey talking about history. Reiner in 2020, this guy went to Worlds. This guy was our best support in the region. He eclipsed Gang. And Gang, of course, was one of, one of these great names that we have in Japan, who's now obviously gone on to his military service. But Reiner was this person who really took up the mantle of, okay, I can be the next best support. I can be the next thing. And then they fell off. We haven't seen that now, that level of form, for quite a long time. And yes, there are a couple of picks where you think, maybe you still got it. Need to see that today, though. And if he does turn up, then we start asking the question, okay, even if you do make it forward from that point, maybe they can take it to the Jesters to that.
Can indeed take it forwards, perhaps, Lina. I think we've all seen them on LoL Esports' highlight montages appearing with the Rel signature pickup. Amongst a few other pop-off performances this split, if you've been keeping up. Gentlemen, I think we've got a graphic. Production, poke me if we don't, for our predictions for today, for the series. And if we don't, there they are. We were going to go through them by voice anyway. Who wants to justify their position first?
Shall I begin? Because I think mine is...
How's this going, Oak?
So... I'm going to start painting a picture here because I reckon Burning Core, with a few key pickups in draft, could definitely make it through this one. Now, SoftBank HAWKS, we already mentioned they've been on an upswing. We mentioned how it seems like finally the pieces are falling into place, but in their last matchup versus Burning Core, that definitely did not happen. I was one to spectate. I was like, oh, this is not what I expected. And I think this can be replicated very easily from Burning Core. I think we're seeing new picks come in, like the not just the Kindred, but the Kindred can be kind of an outlier for, hey, this team knows they need to adapt, and that's really the ringing bells. Plus, with I think Ray Farkey on the Gragas, whilst his win to loss record is only I think like 60% or something. I think the Gragas has been outstanding, and if you're able to couple that with Dice getting on a key mid-game carry, something like the Ari, which you've seen him be really, really comfortable on, if they're able to get that going, I'm very confident in this team to, especially with Fujimoto being on board, to pull out this 3-1.
Okay, well, now I'm going to explain why you're wrong. Because on the other side, I mean, it's really important to put this into perspective, right? Rascal Jesters got to choose their first round opponent. They didn't choose the Hawks. They chose Crest Gaming, and they 3-0'd them. And of course, you can say, oh, maybe that's just Crest Gaming out being weak. But remember the last couple of games of that season, the regular season, where actually the Hawks were... I mean, at least the last round robin, we could see some real points where they were contesting with Sengoku, pulling out some really good moments. And yes, there were some shaky moments in there too. This is not a team you can tangle with too lightly. You need to make sure that you're really putting this series to bed and putting this team away, because it's really dangerous sat there looking at the names and think, oh, Kanatsu, oh, he was really good last year. Blank. Wait, you mean world champion blank? You look through the bottom side of the map and you think, heck, that's a really good team. I don't think you can chance it against them. Now, I don't think you need to rely on signature picks for this team. I think it's more about, are they cohesive on the day? Are they actually playing together as a whole roster? Because they've played multiple styles and we've seen the good and the bad on them on various different compositions. I'm not saying the Hawks are a completely solved team at this point and they have everything lined up, but I am saying that upper level, the upper ceiling is incredibly high. And I think they're going to be really dangerous in this playoffs.
Bro, you've come towards Burning Core just like Oak, but even less confident. Describe the chaos in which you envision.
So with both of these teams in their last playoff performance, going to a best of 5, I believe, all the way 5 games, I couldn't really say anything other than a 5-game series for these two. It just makes the most sense. I wanted to follow in my compatriot Oak's steps and do the 3-1 for Burning Core because I just feel they will have the edge going into this. Get that counter pick for Ray Farkey, allow him to just run rampant in the top lane like he has been doing. The Dice versus Dasher matchup is like who can carry more, who can get to that mid game spike faster, and it's just really going to be fun to see like which team can edge it out just at the end, because I do believe both of these teams are on a very similar level as far as like team play wise and team fight wise. So it's just really some of these these intangibles, if you will, that we can attribute to the team's success. And I just believe Burning Core have the ability to make it happen.
Maybe a race of miles for a match of inches for Beautiful Crow. Just the little micro differences indeed. I'm going to defend my 3-1 for the Hawks very, very quickly. Nymera has already hit on a bunch of the points that I mostly agree with. But I think with the level of experience gap between these teams, with only Marble not being LJL Illuminous, or indeed a previous world champion on the Hawks, I think they are more experienced in the series. This is definitely not a good best of one team, and I think we're going to start to see the difference come out here today. As long as you're attacking Burning Core's reliable setup where they take a Gragas top, a damage type jungler, an assassin in mid, it's very going to be one-sided. I expect Burning Core to maybe push it through once. They've shown it to be effective, but with the way the Hawks can adapt around this with the scale of their players in a best of 5 series, I think they have a serious advantage for Burning Core to overcome today.
There you go. I mean, thank God there's only one temporal, otherwise we wouldn't have a job here. He'd just have 4 of himself. One for every camera. There we go.
We'll see. Gentlemen, we've covered most of our pre-programmed broadcasting so far. Before we get it sent over to the casters, any final one-liners, any final feelings, any final pokes in the ribs you want to throw at each other before we get underway today?
I just want both teams to have fun. No, Burning Core's going down. Get out of here.
Oh, man. I'm ready for it. I'm ready for all the action. Burning Core are going to turn up the heat, if you will, in this matchup.
I just want Dasher to have his first poor performance of the split. I want him to, absolutely get ruined in this series.
Heartbreaking.
So demoralizing for all of this team if Dasher suddenly just this is it's gonna be a good series.
That would break me in half, in the heart and quite physically, straight down the middle. Oh, I don't know. I think Burning Core is one of my favorite teams, but I've been let down once. I've been let down twice. It might just be the journey to the center of the earth once again for this Burning Core side. And I'm kind of ready for it. Gentlemen, it's been a pleasure. As always, we'll see each other after game 1. But right now, we're going to kick it to our casters. Say hello, and please welcome Random Minion Caster and Echo KO.
All right, there we go. What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? Now that we've got these history nerds out of the way, I mean, gosh, if I had to hear one more history lesson from Nymera, it's not just me being mad because he voted against Burning Core. Do not let his blasphemy sway you, okay? Join the Church of Yuhi while there is still time for salvation. That being said, though, like we just heard, I am joined by Random Minion Caster, and we have a hell of a banger for you today. RMC, how you feeling today, man?
Feeling good here, Echo, and you can already see from the predictions that we're very split on how this particular matchup is gonna go. I mean, history is important, Echo, in a way, though I will also agree with you that this Burning Core and this SoftBank HAWKS gaming is unlike the others. It's very different and should be exciting here. You can see that here on the caster side of the desk, we're all Team Burning Core all the way here.
We in sync, baby. That's how we roll.
Yeah, and you know what? We heard the analyst desk, their big brain thoughts on why they might think Hawks are winning, though. Beautiful. Oak, you know where it's at. Burning Core, though, I would argue is incredibly, incredibly strong as well coming into tonight. And the 2-1 head-to-head inspires me a lot, but it's also just the way I think the matchups are going to come through. Mm-hmm. It's so odd, Echo, that we've got 2 out of 3 of the teams in the LJL who can play outside of their bot side, whose win condition doesn't reside in that bot lane here. Burning Core and HAWKS both tend to look towards that top side. That's why we spoke so much on Ray Farkey versus Konatsu, Dice versus Dasher. And it really feels like that is going to be the matchup to watch for the most part.
Yeah, absolutely. It almost feels like we just have like kind of these mirror teams, right? When you look at Burning Core, who were just absolutely stomping it right out of the gate. First thing, they were doing amazing, to say the absolute least. Then they slowly started falling off. And then meanwhile, the Hawks, terrible kind of start. But as time progressed, it's like the joke I always make whenever we have them on gas, right? It's like they're in the Discord. 3 out of the 5 members are muted and deafened, right? So it's like there's just no call outs, no communication. And week 1, it really looked like that. I think Oak was really touching on that, where it's like there was just no communication, no team play. And then as the matches progressed, people started to realize that there's a button to unmute and undeafen. And then slowly but surely, they start talking to each other. And the more they did that, the better they looked.
Yeah, and I guess that's why they start pulling out wins here. And Echo, we've talked a lot about the team, so let's summarize it now to what are the keys to victory for both of these teams. Burning Core here, we touched on the fact that Ray Farkey and Dice, but it's really been the Flawless Dice show a lot of times for the later game team fights. So Flawless and Dice both need to come online, and Flawless's champion pool is going to be a large part of that. Now, Ray Farkey, though, that is a man who will drag his team kicking and screaming over the finish line if you give him the right champions. Tank Gragas, sure, he looks good on it, but that's not his MVP style champion. Give him something like the Darius, something like the Jax, where he can really carry on, and this guy can 1v5. And lastly, of course, the Burning Core is don't throw in the mid game. A lot of times when they are behind, they do tend to force plays, which don't look too good. It's not a communications issue because they're going in together. They're just picking some real dicey situations. Don't throw in the mid game. I think Burning Core have got this. On the other hand, though, SoftBank HAWKS Gaming, because Ray Farkey is such a strong individual here, they need to nullify him, and that's up to Konatsu. And honestly, Konatsu's been great in lane. Is probably right now a better laner than Ray Farkey as well. So it's very doable, especially if you give Konatsu counterpick. Blank world champion he might be, but this split he's been struggling a lot to get effective ganks going. He's got the highest kill participation of all, or second highest kill participation in the entire league at 80.9%. Great stat, but he's also got the second lowest kills, second lowest damage percent, and second lowest damage per minute of all junglers. That's not ideal, and it says a lot about the Hawks right now. So Blank, I want him to gank more, get that kill participation even higher if possible. And lastly, as you mentioned, Echo, as Oak mentioned, as the desk mentioned, comms and coordination. If they unmute, if they undeafen their Discord and actually communicate, they look great. If they don't, well, maybe we're all wrong, and it could be a 3-0 if they don't.
Yeah, honestly, it's like you never really know how the chips are going to fall, to say the absolute least. And it's interesting to see because it's almost like these two teams really are just kind of like looking into a mirror, right? It's both of these teams where top lane, it can either be incredibly volatile or it's going to be incredibly chill, right? If they, for some reason, in some universe, don't end up banning Ray Farkey's Darius, for, let's say something like that, some carry champ, then you already know he's going to take that, run it to the bank, and he's going to do his absolute damnedest to go ahead and carry the game. Or they might just go ahead and, they'll be like, we're going to ban that out. And you never know. Burning Core might be able to utilize that because that's going to be one ban off the table that they can already expect. And then the mid lane and that jungle duo is something that we've seen just is so incredibly prevalent from Burning Core and from the Hawks as well. So I want to say that Crow was touching on this. It really is kind of that. It's this both similar playstyle, and it's really going to kind of come down to who can just find that little bit of an edge and then kind of run the mile with it.
Yeah, and I think the interesting thing is, as much as we haven't touched on the bot lane too much, they might be critical here. If everybody else is matching up, then Yuhi, Fujimoto, Marble, Lina, these guys need to step up. And I think Yuhi's been performing a little bit better towards the end of split here. So we'll have to see how that goes and whether or not we do see that ADC emphasis as a lot of teams have started moving away from bot side priority.
Yeah. I mean, absolutely, right? It's like we didn't even talk about the bot lane that much, but it's like you're saying, right? This isn't, both of these teams really aren't teams where they're kind of absolutely relying on that wink on the bot lane, but we are in the draft already. So let's just take a look here. Obvious bands coming out from the Hawks here. We've got the Tryndamere, we've got the Graves. Wondering if the Darius will follow suit now or if they may be off for something else.
Yeah, I don't think Ray Farkey necessarily blind picks that Darius or picks it in the first round a lot of times. So I think you can afford to let it through, especially when you can pick a counter to it. If anything, Rayfarki is more likely to blind the Gragas. But Echo, the fact that SoftBank Hawks are on the blue side here, to me, is worrying because they have to ban the Tryndamere. Otherwise, normally it's the red side who has to ban Tryndamere in the current meta. That's how much respect Rayfarki gets.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, respect where respect is due. They know that if they give Rayfarki any of these carrion champs, that he's going to do his damnedest to go ahead and grab them the win. We do see the Ari being picked out already. Some interesting, really, to see. We've been seeing a lot now with these mid laners always being selected first, but Burning Core maybe deciding to go a different direction here.
Well, I mean, usually when we see the mid laners picked up early, it's Ryze or it's Ari, right?
Yeah.
And so it's the Ari in this case for Dasher, his most played champion. And also, I mean, we've got Nymeria on the desk. What else would we have expected besides an Ari first pick here? Burning Core, on the other hand, don't have to rush anymore because you've seen that Ari, you can save your mid lane for R3 if you want, and if you want to pick up high priority champions instead. Now, surprisingly, Zeri Jinx are open. Burning Core have opted for the Aphelios instead, and Marble has shown a preference for this Aphelios even over the Jinx a lot of times here. So they're picking that playmaking style, that more utility-based hyper carry in that bot side, and the Lee Sin for blank, for flawless, pardon me, is something that I do like to see. I think Lee Sin has been a bit underutilized in the LJL, but it's a very strong early style champion who can carry the early game for these teams.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we know that Flawless likes to be on these kind of flashy, very damage dealing junglers here. Probably doesn't want to be considered that one trick pony with the Diana. Also realizing that there's probably a reason that they left it open for grabbing the Lee Sin. So going to be interesting to see if they can make something happen with that. And then we do see the bot lane from the Hawks here coming into fruition with the Zeri and the Leona being hovered at the moment. Gonna have to see if they lock that in though. 10 more seconds on the clock, so you never know. Might go for that last second change. Nah, they're going to go ahead and lock that in. So now we know what the bot lane is looking like. What kind of support do we need to see coming up from Burning Core?
For Burning Core right now, Fujimoto has not played that many different supports. There's Nautilus, there's Tahm Kench, there's Leona, and I think one game of Thresh here. So considering that Nautilus is banned, Leona's been picked up, you got better than average odds.
Are we
right
benching the
now,
Kench? That's the real question. Are we benching the Kench?
No, they went with the LeBlanc, and now I'm worried for Fujimoto because you can just pinch that if you're the Hawks, right?
Yeah.
Ban out that Tahm Kench, and suddenly that's not on the table. You can ban the Darius as well for Rayfarki, which probably wouldn't be a bad idea, because if you do leave it open, keep in mind that Burning Core do have counter pick here, and that does stop you from playing a lot of carries when that Darius is on the table.
Yeah, Fujimoto right now is just that kid in the back of the class who forgot that today's presentation day, didn't bring it with him. He's keeping his head down. He's like, please, please don't ban my Kench, please, bro. And we can see, Gragas actually gonna go down here. They've been seeing Rayfarki on the Gragas, and they want nothing to do with that. Diego being hovered as well here from Burning Core, gonna grab that out. And now the final moment. Will they give Fujimoto that fatal pinch that we were talking about, taking out the Kench? Will they bench the Kench, unclog the frog? I don't know all the sayings for it, so I'm just gonna stick with the one that I know.
Good question here, and I feel like the Darius might be scarier at this point. Fujimoto has done a great job on the Tahm Kench, don't get me wrong, but at the same time, Rayfarki is just a bigger carry player. So sure enough, we see the Jace band out instead, and as much as we said that, hey, they're leaving that Diana open for the likes of Flawless here, they're intentionally leaving that Darius open as well for Rayfarki, and you've got to assume that, hey, there's going to be a counter pick. There is an answer here for the Hawks. Burning Core, though, they want to pick the support here, right? There's no need to counter pick yourself or allow Rayfarki to get counter picked. You picked red side to give yourself counter pick.
Yeah, and so the Renata actually being locked in here instead. So Fujimoto being like, hey, watch me. Y'all think I can only play the Kench. Watch me. Indeed it is. So it's going to be interesting to see how he can pilot around that as we see these last picks coming out here from the Hawks. And now, the Gnar going to be locked in. Okay.
I am worried, Echo, for Burning Core right now. With the Renata pick, they're very, very squishy as a whole right now. And so they're likely going to have to put Rayfarki on something a little bit tankier. He has played Sion, he has played Shen, but it's not looks that I like on him. And you can see that the Hawks are enough, they picked the Gnar here, who has a bit of range, and they're still daring you to say, okay, yeah, Darius does have a good matchup against Gnar. We dare you to pick it. Because if you do, you're going to be light onto your tankiness here. And we've got the Zeri, we've got the Ari. We can just rip your team apart. And Rayfarki picking Ornn in the first game of playoffs.
I mean, it's a move. Is it the right one? Only time will tell, but it's a move. It's going to be interesting to say the least how Ray Fargate is going to pilot that. We were talking about how, like, he does look quite decent on these tanky picks, but we definitely like seeing him more in these carry roles that we know that he likes to play. And honestly, all the cards were open to him. The Darius was left for them. Obviously, doesn't really want to pick that blindly. And then he saw that, Kinatsu grabbing himself the Gnar, didn't want to pick into that. But it's really now it's absolutely without a doubt really going to be the flawless dice show, I feel like.
Yeah, it kind of has to be here. I mean, Ornn isn't a champion that can 1v5. I mean, he can stand there 1v5 for a while and soak all the damage, sure. But yeah, it's going to be about Dice, Flawless, and Yuhi as well. And Burning Core, they've drafted themselves a very standard front-to-back composition here, which I appreciate with the potential flanks coming through. But I am concerned about it because when I look at what the Hawks drafted, they too have a strong front-to-back. And if anything, I'd argue any team with the Zeri right now is probably the best front-to-back style composition. She's mobile enough. She outranges even the likes of a Jinx to come through here. And with the Poppy is an LJL champion that I have been impressed by. Echo, it feels like the LJL uses it more than any other region. Did sort of fall off a little bit in Round Robin 3 and a little bit in Round Robin 2. But having that Poppy right now makes it such that the Lee Sin, the LeBlanc here for Flawless and Dice, the two we're saying need to carry this game, are really going to struggle to reach those carries. And Dasher's got dashes himself as well. So if you're going in, Dasher can go out.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, this Dice Dasher look right here is something we've definitely seen before with Dice being on the LeBlanc. He's shown us what he can do, but it's like you're saying, he's going into a comp that's not going to be making it easy for him, but we're going to have to pray that he's going to roll the dice and get that 6, because game on, ladies and gentlemen. The first game of tonight's playoff, depending on your time zone. We're about to get right underway, and we are on the Rift. You know the game we play, looking at the sums, looking at the ruins. Anything striking your eye right off the bat?
I mean, there is the Unsealed Spellbook for Ray Farkey. That's something that I like to see a lot on these sort of melee top laners, tanks who are just trying to survive the lane when they're running into ranged matchups. Conqueror for Aphelios, I guess, versus the lethal tempo. That's fairly standard as well. It gives you a little bit more sustain, a little bit more damage here. And for that, I feel like Yuhi's thinking that I might be hitting that front line more than I'm actually hitting Marble. Isn't worried about the range here. I'm outranged anyways. That's Flawless and Dice's job. But other than that, fairly standard across the board.
Yeah, absolutely. I feel like especially with Burning Core, we've always seen that like they have the skill you need to play safe in the lane. It really isn't until this mid game when they have these team fights that they start making these questionable plays, to say the least, where you really kind of sit there and like, why did you do that? Was that the move? Not really. But we're gonna have to wait and see. The AI not rooting for Burning Core here, though. The only 48% to 52-bit SoftBank HAWKS a favorite there at the moment. Gonna have to see if they prove right or if we come out right in the end.
Yeah, I've got very mixed feelings about that right now, Echo, because in chat here, Nymera saying that he thinks Burning Core might take this first game, and then we've got Blitz saying the opposite here. Normally we go the opposite of either of them, so a little bit split. We'll have to see how that one goes here, but for now, both junglers not starting on the same side of the map, opposite sides here, and I like it for both of them, because when you look at what the matchups are, Flawless doesn't really want to gank Ray Farkey. You're on the Ornn, you're not the carry Ray Farkey. Not that important to get him ahead. Bot side's got more kill threat, and Blank on the other hand, saying that, okay, Marble, Rhina, you guys should be fine bot side right now. I'm going to try and get Kinatsu ahead, because we already said one of the keys for Hawks to win this is to shut Ray Farkey down. And even though he's on a tank, hey, shutting him down and getting your split push threat with that Gnar online faster is always a good thing.
Yeah, and not only that, right? He is the only tank pretty much on his team right now. Obviously, Flawless, depending on the build path he ends up going for, may become somewhat of a tank himself. But for right now, at the moment, if they can shut down Ray Farkey, meanwhile, a little bit of damage coming out of that mid lane. But like we're saying, right, if they can get Ray Farkey out of the game, that leaves all these squishy characters for Dasher and Marble and even Blank to just absolutely decimate if they so please.
Yeah, and you can already see topside, there is that significant CS advantage here. One of the annoying things about Gnar into a lot of these tanks is that he can harass you with that boomerang under your turret fairly comfortably as well. So a lot of times it's hard to last hit under that turret here. And that's why we're partially starting to see this CS differential come through. But it's important to note, Ray Farkey under turret is not very gankable for Blank. So even though Blank is at this top side here, was maybe hoping to find something up top, won't be able to look for a dive, and topside got fully cleared. So Blank right now, unfortunately not going to find anything on his jaunt. Let's see if Flawless can do something here on the bot side.
Yeah, absolutely going in, see if there's any cheeky camps for him to grab, but he's going to get the same blank treatment. Nothing quite going to be there. Dare I say the jungle is quite a blank at the moment when it comes to camps. So instead, I had to, man. It was too simple. I had to. So instead, going to go ahead, hit that background. Just with the pickaxe, that's going to be a whole lot of early damage. And just overall, most of these lanes just not really, like the lanes that they need aren't in these gankable positions at the moment.
Yeah, and if the Hawks are playing, to their early round robin style, this is likely to continue. They were fairly passive, but they're looking for action bot side already here, forcing the flash and cleanse out of Yuhi just as Blank was there. I was wondering if they were going to fully commit and get Blank into the midst of things, but they back up for now.
Yeah, for right now, nothing quite going to come out of that. Just showing a little bit of pressure, but actually with the fake back, perhaps waiting to see if they can find some kind of opportunity, but nothing really coming out of it. Top lane, meanwhile, just going to be pretty chill here. RayFarky not looking to make any mistakes, not making it look anything happen. It's just content, just farming up, getting the money.
Yeah, good job on RayFarky actually to not fall too far behind, only about a wave down, considering what we saw earlier where he was kind of getting doubled in terms of CS. Bot side though, Yuhi and Fujimoto kind of couldn't make up the decision to back or not. They kind of split the difference. They sent Fujimoto back and Yuhi wanted to soak up that wave, but it does mean that they're going to be a little bit desynced here. And I'm curious if Fujimoto decides to try and gank somewhere else. That's usually what we see after first max from supports. But the timing, I feel like, just wasn't synced in this case. Dice was chunking out Dasher looking for his own recall. Won't have enough mana here, and Dasher's out of lane as well. So Fujimoto just going to have to wander back into lane, not able to find anything quite on that first row.
Yeah, nothing quite coming out of that. We do see the first drag is on the map as well. We're already seeing some pings coming down here. They're definitely looking towards it. However, Blank is still in that top jungle at the moment, clearing that camps, and should slowly be pivoting down. Same actions coming out from Flawless, so we might just be seeing our first little scuffle here in this bot river for the drag. Gonna have to wait and see though. Dasher and Dice, a little bit of a trade going out. Charm is gonna go a bit awry, not quite gonna find its mark, and so nothing quite gonna come out of it. But we do see both junglers on the move ever so slowly.
Yeah, Blank now down to this bot side. And look at the vision down here, Echo. 3 control wards from the side of HAWKS, rather defensively as well. One in the actual pit. You can see that they're focusing down this dragon. They want to pick up this first one here. And keep in mind, this is a Poppy as well. We've seen Poppies in the LJL completely just deny enemy junglers access to that dragon pit. The steadfast presence often not allowing dashes to come in, and if he hits 6 here, keep his verdict, we'll just yeet out whatever jungler's in there. So you can see Flawless just kind of went, okay, you know what, not even going to try for this right now, we're going to give it over instead. I can't actually contest the early Poppy.
Yeah, definitely the move to make. And it's like we said, right, this is going to be one of those games where it's really, you're just looking for every single opportunity you can get to try and get that edge. So early dragon is definitely a good start in that direction.
Yeah, for the HAWKS. And we said before, right, HAWKS, they're good at getting their early leads. The problem is, can they actually convert that? They actually have the lowest or second lowest, I don't know how you want to count V3 because they didn't win a single game, win rate with a lead at 15 here, a goal lead at 15. So this is standard from the HAWKS. We are getting what we expected to see, just quiet leads coming through from superior laning, from superior rotations onto objectives. And Burning Core, though, Burning Core is not a team to usually go quietly into the night. I am surprised we've not seen more action come through yet from them, one way or another. Flawless now looking top, but the ward line that HAWKS put down, man, it's just not letting Flawless find anything.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Everything just kind of didn't work out there. The ward line, Kinatsu getting his mega form right then and there as well. Speaking of getting mega form, they're looking to get mega fed. That's a nice play comes through, and there's the dash as well, and that should be the end for you. He gets hit with the bailout, but you can't bail yourself out of that one, and will go down. That's going to be first of blood.
Looking good from the HAWKS here so far, and that's the visit back into the bot lane that we wanted to see. They blew both of Yuhi's summoners previously there, and this time Blank gets to come in and secure that mid side. They're just trading right now, but Dice is just trying to gain pressure on that mid lane because Flawless is taking that Herald currently here. They want to make sure it's perfectly safe, and here's the fight we didn't quite get to see. Reiner just flashing in. You love to see it come through here, and he actually did get pulled back by Fujimoto's stun. Doesn't even matter. They're just piling in with enough bodies and no flash on Yuhi. If he pushes past mid-river and they don't have a ward, if they're not backing out the moment they see Blank, this is a repeatable gank they can pull over and over.
Yeah, absolutely. So definitely going to have to adjust accordingly if they don't want that happening again. They did luck out with the first blood actually going into the hands of Rhina. So not necessarily the move you'd want, right? That 400 gold definitely would have been better in the hands of Marble, but you take those regardless. That's a little bit of mental damage you do there as well. And so we're going to have to see if they can pivot that. We do see that Flawless was able to grab himself the Herald actually for that, realizing that Blank was in that bot lane just quickly to go grab it. So we're gonna have to wait and see if he finds a place to place it. But for right now, he might just be finding a Zenith Blade if he's not careful here.
Yeah, right now Flawless is not enjoying this bot side, and that's not good for Yuhi or Fujimoto either, because it's unlikely that they're going to receive relief from their jungler at this point. And I think we're likely to see that Herald dropped, mid or top instead, because those are lanes where you can actually kill, force the opponent back, and maximize the use of that there. Now, top and mid, it's actually gone very, very even here. We've seen both Dasher and Dice trading incredibly hard on each other, and because of that, they've not actually been joining a lot of these skirmishes because they don't have enough health or mana. I suspect that's going to change soon, because you pick LeBlanc Lee Sin because that's a duo that has a lot of kill threat together, and more importantly, can hunt down mobile champions like the Ahri.
Yeah, we are seeing Blank looking for that repeatable game. We were just talking about Yuhi about to step right in, the X-Flash coming out, and Yuhi will be able to escape. But Fujimoto, a very nice handshake. Doesn't matter, though. Too much CC coming out. Fujimoto taking out so much, though, with the Guardian as well. He's going to be able to walk out of that one alive. I am actually amazed that he was able to walk out from that one.
It's that word, man. Black was charging up the Hex Flash, and if he wasn't charged, if he had just gone immediately the moment the ward dropped, I think they could have found a kill, but kind of hesitated, got split here, and gets to live. Now, Kinatsu, the question is, can he do this? Oh, another control ward coming down, Echo. That's, I feel like, how many control wards have we seen already? 5, 6 already at the 10-minute mark, but hey, it's keeping people alive. So.
Oh, indeed. Flash coming out, but that's not going to be enough to dash. And oh my God, Flawless, very nicely done. The Flash not quite reaching out of the range of the call. The Forge God is going to get knocked up by that. Flawless finishing the job. I'd be surprised if we don't see the Rift Up maybe being placed top here. Actually, no, he's still going to hold on to it.
Yeah, still got a little bit of time, and finally Flawless has been looking and looking and looking. And did you see the pathing on that one, Echo?
That was big.
I hope they show. Watch where Flawless goes here, because he knew that, okay, it got warded. We can't do this. You know what? We'll brute force this over the wall here. And just the tip of the call of the Forge God was all they needed. The moment the knockup landed, they were able to punish. Great gank coming through, and I want to see more of that. Honestly, I do think this top side is exploitable, but before that, Echo, I'd like to see a mid lane gank, because I called for it earlier here. I still want to see it come through. If you can land that resonating strike, that is kill territory.
Yeah, absolutely right. We realizing that Flawless is like, okay, bot lane's not gonna work, so let's just we'll move on from that, let them do the thing, and we'll move to top instead. Mid definitely still gonna need some help here, as they are still incredibly even in a lane right now. Dice with a bit of farm advantage over. Very nice sidestep there to get away from the charm, because I think if that would have landed, Dice would have been so done. But the kill squad is just waiting for Dice. The moment he steps up too close, or if he gets hit by that charm, it might just be over for him. But at the moment, camera deciding to just pan up to that top. Gonna see Yuhi defending this turret. That's very interesting. Oh, that's a lot of damage coming out from Kinatsu.
I mean, 200 years of design here. Your bones get real brittle, and when building lands on you, definitely got a chunk here. This is interesting, because Burning Core just kind of gave up on the Dragon altogether. Dragon was spawning, and I thought, oh, they're setting up for this when I saw Rayfarkey go down, but no. They really want to utilize that Herald. The Herald was running out of time, and they're brute forcing top instead. They've successfully drawn Blank up here, so Dragon actually not going to get taken by HAWKS. Rhina rotating up with Dasher.
Indeed, does get seen there here with that Sonic Blast. So it's going to have to go ahead and back off. The Rift Tail going to crash and get them a little bit of money, but not too much damage will be done. And like you were saying, they were able to successfully draw Blank up. So they do still have time if they want to try and get this Dragon. The TP's coming out. So maybe they do just go ahead and just slowly move on over there. Ooh,
okay.
Ooh, Dice, calm down, Dice.
No, he's not coming down.
He's not coming down. He hurt me, and he's looking to send it. Won't quite find it, but that was dangerous to say the least. Dice is in that one pop territory ever so slightly. He's inching his way there, doing a lot of damage, and that is exactly what we want to see, because we need Dice to be able to do that kind of damage if they want to have any sort of shot of winning this thing.
Unfortunately, though, Echo, none of it's going to stick, because TP for Dasher here, and now we're seeing the teams really set up for the Dragon. It wasn't the most efficient rotations from Burning Core coming through, but it was completely, utterly unpunished. And they can look to group up here for this Dragon. Notable though, Ray Farkey, no TP, used it to get back to that top side here, and Kinatsu does. So the Hawks technically have a numbers advantage.
Yeah, and they are just absolutely bursting down that Dragon incredibly quick. Are going to secure that blank. Like, you know what? Let them have it. I'm pretty low on mana. I'm going to just sit back here, let them have it. We'll get the next one.
Yeah, that's actually pretty critical though for Burning Core to deny that stacking early here, because if Hawks had managed to get in there, we've touched on the fact that Poppy is one of the harder junglers to try and get a steal off on. And anytime you can sort of make sure that you secure a Dragon and extend that lead is something that you want to be able to do. And Burning Core, you can see they got more plate gold. They managed to deny that Dragon, but look at the total team gold here, Echo. They're not that far ahead. The Hawks are still able to constantly find small leads in multiple lanes to be able to keep them, actually not even in the lanes. It's mostly just a blank difference right now on this Poppy that's getting them that lead. And if you're putting gold onto blank, Blank has to reciprocate, right? We've said that he's got very high KP, but he doesn't actually get that many kills. Time for him to turn that on, get some kills going.
Yeah, definitely. He heard us talking smack in the post game. He was like, no, I will not let that slide. Definitely looking for something. Speaking of looking for something, Marble and Rhino, we're looking for that tier 1, but won't quite be able to find it. Flawless is there as well. They're trying to move into their own jet. They don't know. Dice is just chilling. Oh my God. It's just an absolute standoff at the moment. Both teams waiting for that engagement to go in. Lee Sin Syndrome not going to kick in. He's not going to take that Q back. It's a nothing quite going to come out of that one.
Okay, we said they don't know, but neither of them really knew.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, Black did a great job pulling it behind that rock there, because they actually lost vision and weren't sure how low the blue buff was. I think it burst down faster than they expected, because Dice was looking to try and cheese something, and that rock worked both ways, right? You couldn't see Dice, but Dice couldn't see you, and Blank is still in the area here. They're still looking to make something happen, and because it took so long, Dasher already pushed out mid, rotating down to this bot side for a dive.
Yep, looking to take out this tier 1. We see the Keeper's Verdict just gonna yeet them on away and grab that turret. That is so toxic. Nothing they can do to defend that turret as they just get launched away and have to watch midair as their turret crumbles.
You know what, Echo? It's the safe play to Keeper's Verdict them just yeet that bot lane out of it, but I really think it was diveable, honestly. They had four people. You could have gone in, and Yuhi Fujimoto are so squishy. We saw it before when Blank forced that gank earlier after they blew summoners here. If you're bringing Dasher down, it's so killable, but they play it safe, and that is the SoftBank Hawks for you, right? It's the reason why they have some of the longer games in the league, because they play it slow, because they play it safe. And first turret, Marble now rotated out of that lane. Let's see what else they can get here. They are looking to send them mid for now, and actually Dasher rotating up towards that top side to match against Ray Farkey.
Yeah, hey, listen, man, the meat tastes better when scared. That's why they just sent them away, made it look like it was going to be a dive, but then they're like, nah, we'll be back for you later. You're never safe. It doesn't matter where you go, but we'll have to wait and see. The next Rift Out is alive, as you were saying, and so at the moment, a little bit of movement coming out. We do see Blank heading on over there. The control wood is dropped on us, so Burning Core will know that something's going to happen. Flawless opting to maybe try and find something here in the spot lanes. Sonic Wave not quite going to connect, and so the question is he going to look to rotate up, or is he just going to say, you know what, let him have it, let's look for opportunities elsewhere?
You kind of got to give it up here. Flaw is not going to be able to move up in time here, so I like the decision said that, hey, I'm already bot side, let's double down on
ultimate
this.
coming out, and Kinatsu doesn't have big mode at the moment. The ultimate coming out from Fujimoto, but not quite going to land, and so nothing quite going to come out of that. And that's just 2 ultimates for Kinatsu to be able to jump away. Meanwhile, in this mid lane, turret getting incredibly low is going to go down. Nothing quite that Dice and Ray Farkey can do at the moment. It just feels like the side Burning Core here kind of split up at the moment. They're not where they need to be. It's like, you know, that Rift Trail's being taken, and it said you're in the bot lane trying to take out Kinatsu, who's incredibly tanky, and then you don't even manage to do that. You lose Rift Herald, you lose the tier 1.
Yeah, I think that was Burning Core trying to make the best of a bad situation, where unfortunately Flawless hasn't quite lived up to his name in terms of being at the right objectives at the right time, for that matter. Even the one Dragon that they took kind of felt like that was Hawks messing up a little bit, trying to answer back Flawless. And you can see that anytime Blank is being proactive and not reacting to Flawless right now, it's really working out. And that was also partially a great flash from Kinatsu. If Kinatsu hadn't flashed and had been hit by that hostile takeover, Burning Core probably would have made it worse.
Well, Charm coming through, Everfrost as well. A whole lot of damage coming out though. Dasher might have thought he'd be doing a little bit more damage. Dice though does not like the disrespect and is going to respond with some damage of his own. And so overall, both mid laners are going to be incredibly even. We see the Rift Gel instantly getting dropped. They're looking to siege down this tier 2 in the mid lane, and there's really not much that Yuhi and Fujimoto can do right now. They need some kind of assistance if they want to be able to stop this threat. Tier 2 goes down. And Hawks are just like, okay, well, we'll take down Ray Farkey and then we'll go get Dragon as well.
Yeah, and once again, really decisive movement from the Hawks here. The moment they were like, okay, we know Dice TP to the top side. We know Flawless is not in mid lane. Hey, we push for mid immediately with Herald, get the inner, and look at the perfect timing so they fall back onto Dragon. And where is Burning Core? They're left reeling right now. They are once again behind the curve in terms of these objectives here, and Flawless being out of position. Dice not, if they can't kill Dasher here, all this time has been wasted and they found next to nothing for all that the Hawks are getting.
Yeah, I feel like Dasher, he knows that they're trying to get him. He's just taunting him. He's at the turret like, yeah, come on, come try and get me. Let's see what happens. A whole lot of nothing. You're just going to be losing objectives left and right. And they do end up losing that Dragon as well. And it was all for naught. They realized they're not going to get Dasher anytime soon. So instead they opt to just like steal the wolves. And I dare I say, correct me if I'm wrong, I might just say that's not worth it.
Echo, if you're Burning Core, you always say worth it. You're right. Mathematically, it definitely wasn't worth it. The pressure, psychological pressure, that's what we're going to chalk this one up to for Burning Core. Really well played from Hawks, though. They're not giving Burning Core much of an opportunity to make anything happen in the lanes, and they've done a great job of that all game long. We're 20 minutes, Echo. There's only one kill apiece right now, and it's not for lack of trying on the part of Burning Core. We can see that the Hawks like to play slow, and Blank has been ganking, but Flawless has not been playing slow. He's been desperately trying to find kills anywhere, and they've kept him at 1. That, to me, is a massive win from the Hawks so far.
Yeah, absolutely. I think a huge thing is just this vision that's been coming out. We even see just now, right? Flawless was looking for some kind of an engage. And then Ryan is like, here's a ward. Yeah, we know where you are now. So that's not going down. And so we saw it every time that Flawless tried to get into this top lane, tried to get into this mid lane where we were talking about he needs to be there early to try and get these leads. He's always been spotted out by just the absolute wall of control wards and normal wards that were just there to stop any sort of chance he had from pulling off a successful gank. And then when he does manage to finally get one, it's like 10 minutes in already. And it's just so much has been going down that by now you're in a pretty bad spot.
Yeah, and even in this particular play where they're taking down this topside turret, Blank was hovering the entire time, daring Flawless to come. And they wanted the Lee Sin there. I mean, between Ari with all the CC, between Poppy and Ari with all the CC they have, as well as the straight damage that Dasher has at this point in the game, you can absolutely kill Flawless. So that's another turret taken with no answer from Burning Core. They didn't push mid, they didn't push bot. And for Burning Core, they're not that far behind. They're only 2k down. The problem is just that they're never at the play, and that's why they feel so far back. If they actually 5v5 team fought right now, they'd probably lose because Yuki's behind the curve, but they wouldn't lose that badly. I think they actually might be able to find kills and make it a fairly even fight, maybe a 3-for-2, 4-for-1 style, 4-for-3 style scenario here.
Yeah, I'm starting to get the feeling that they somehow managed to make the map UI just 0, and that's why they're not there, because it's just, it feels very odd, right? It's like, even though they're not behind in kills, they're just slightly behind in gold, they're incredibly behind on just positioning on the map in general. All of these objectives, whenever they're up, Burning Core just feels like they're just kind of out taking a stroll here, taking a little gander. You're looking at the sights of the rift like, no, dude, this is not the time to be doing that. You need to be present on these objectives, because just these slight little gold increments that they're able to get from them is what's putting the Hawks ahead. You already were a little bit behind when that first blood ended up falling into the bot lane here. So you really should be looking for absolutely every single opportunity. And speaking of opportunities, Natsu does try to look for something on Flawless, won't quite find it, but it's just that pressure and that wall of wards we talked about as well. It's just progressively moving more and more up into just eventually it'll just be in the damn base of Burning Core. So it's like there's nowhere they can move at this point to try and find these openings, and he needs to move if he does not want to die here. Bela coming out the flash, actually, I guess better safe than sorry. Was a little worried something else will come out, but we'll be able to get out of that one alive. And Dice maybe gonna look for something, kind of just chilling on his own here in the river right now, but gets spotted out by a ward once again.
Okay, and I'm kind of scared right now for you. He played that really well, dodged almost all the skill shots, still almost died to the stuff that you couldn't dodge out, right? And that's just from Dasher coming through. So a little bit scary, and you don't have proper peel. The only person who could maybe peel for you is Ray Farkey here. If Fujimoto tries to peel, Fujimoto could get burst down as well, but speaking of bursts, Dice ain't no slouch either, and Dice seems to be winning the 1v1 against Dasher.
Yeah, that's the thing, right? And right now, it just kind of feels like it's all up to Dice. It is the Dice show right now. He needs to get in there. He needs to start poking these targets down so that Ray Farkey can send in the call of the Fourth God, get that knock up, and give him that opportunity that they need to try and get his damage. Because right now, it's like we were saying before, if they go in for that fully fledged team fight, odds are they'll probably lose, not by a large margin, but that's exactly why they need Dice to do what Dice does best, and that's just to sow fear into the side of the Hawks here. Try and get them low enough where they can make some picks happen and then snowball that into a win. Oh, speaking of that, they're trying to find it. Won't quite get it though. Blank just walking away from that, and just so much speed with that turbo chem take as well. The next drag is up. We see that Ray Farkey trying his best to zone out, but for how long can he hold? It's the question. Dice as well. I'm behind the wall right now. It does have the chains going out. Zenith Blade does land, but it's going to dash over that wall. Dragon getting lower and lower, and so much damage coming out. And there's that Keeper's Verdict we talked about. Yeeting them over the wall. Goodbye. Nothing you can do there. Down goes Ray Farkey as well. And just like that, Burning Core is in shambles. The entirety of their team, they can't move back up. Flawless, incredibly low against the flash over that wall to get away from the Ultra Shock Laser. And so they will get out of that one alive, but they will lose Ray Farkey, Fujimoto, and the Dragon.
Echo, did you see Ray Farkey, how quickly he went down there?
Yeah.
Great, we get a replay, because if you blink and you missed it, watch it again here. This is an issue, because Ray Farkey is the tankiest member, and oh my goodness there, the Gnar ultimate from Kinatsu was absolutely cracked. But Ray Farkey, in the middle of 5, if he goes down that quickly there, he can't actually step up and do the damage. And this is going to be the story of every fight. Now, they don't even need Keeper's Verdict to kick out Flawless when Kinatsu is that on point with the Mega Gnar going in. And now that is so point for Hawks here. They finally win their first conclusive fight. They've got themselves a 3K gold lead. Mid inner turret is down as well here. The Hawks have everything they need to win this. And for Burning Core, we said that, hey, maybe in a team fight they have a chance. Well, now if you can't team fight, you can't split push, what can you actually do to try and turn things around?
Yeah, that's the ultimate question here. Gonna have to wait and see if they can find some kind of an answer at the moment. Do you see that Kinatsu and Ray Farkey facing it down once again in this top lane here? A little bit of split pushing coming out from Kinatsu. Dice looking, maybe you can find anything on Kinatsu. You're gonna have to dash over that wall. Might just be looking for it. The dash from Ray Farkey is going to go a bit short, but Dice is there waiting on a flag. No, he did not just do that to him. The chains will still land at the end of the day, but that was pretty cool to watch. And now Blank, he's so fast. Look at him. Just dashes up into the wall, hits him with a smite, and takes him down. Ray Farkey going to have to dash away. The Solar Flare coming out, but just a bit too deep under their turret. They take the pick on Dice, and they go home.
Yeah, Burning Core land the resonating strike. I don't know if they actually want to follow in on that one there. Thankfully for Burning Core, though, because Dice has TP, Hawks can't just turn and burn on the Baron immediately and just take that away. Instead, they're going to try and siege up this bot lane a little bit, maybe split push. Dasher still in that mid lane, walking waves in. And because they're a little bit split, because the mid inner has already gone down, I'm actually not confident that Hawks will be able to find anything other than the solo pick here. And if Dice doesn't TP, then Hawks, sure, you got a little golden pocket, but you didn't actually move any closer towards that Nexus.
Yeah, that being said, the gold lead is ever so slightly shifting further and further onto the side here of the Hawks at a good almost 4K now at this point. They're definitely taking control of this game, as we saw, especially with that team fight, and just Burning Core's just kind of running out of opportunities right now to make anything happen. The clock is just slowly ticking down, and it's so interesting to see because we've always kind of pegged Burning Core as a team that likes to get their hands dirty. They like to get in there early on from the start and make things happen. And this time around, it wasn't until this kind of like 25-ish minute mark that we actually saw these kills coming out.
Yeah, and even then, Echo, it wasn't in their favor.
Yeah, it wasn't in their favor either.
Yeah, you're playing the Hawks game, and Hawks love a nice, good late game here. 30 minutes, hey, we'll team fight you twice and we'll win the game, right? Or maybe we lose the game. But no, it's been winning more than losing for the Hawks in the second half of the regular season here. So they're starting to hit their comfort zone here. We're approaching that 30-minute marks. Items are completing once again. Marble picking up the wit's end as well to try and lower the amount of damage that Dice is doing. And you're kind of getting tanky. That's one of the annoying things about Zeri as well, is not only does she outrange you, not only does she outdamage you, she also builds tankier than most other AD carries as well. So as the game is going later and later, Burning Core's options are getting smaller and smaller. And normally this is where a team like the Hawks would be threatening the Baron here. And they're not. They're still taking their own sweet time with it. And that's a problem for Burning Core, because at Baron, at least there's a chance for you to win that with the debuff that Baron puts down. If Hawks don't do it and they just wait for the Mountain Soul instead, the Mountain Soul doesn't debuff them, you're still going to lose that fight the same way you did last time.
Yeah, absolutely. And with that bounce up in 50 seconds, it is looking quite inevitable with Kinatsu with that ultimate. And the keeper's ready from blank once again. Maybe we see another repeat of what we saw there. I mean, we called it as well, right? Those dragon takes are going to be incredibly hard, but instead we're going to be seeing a bit of a fight going out there. The Solar Flare is going to land on Flawless. Not going to find much so. Call of Forge got though. Ray Farky in that backline, only going to get one knock up on the blank there. So nothing quite coming out of that one. Kinatsu doing his best to just poke down Ray Farky ever so slightly with those boomerangs coming out, looking for that opportunity. Flawless with the kick, but it's not quite gonna get that. The Dice doing a whole lot of damage, but it won't quite be enough. The Berserk coming out though. Can they find something? Looking for it. Blank should go down here unless he escapes. No, he will not. Fujimoto gonna go ahead and secure that kill, and that's the first pick that they need on the road to victory here. They hopefully can find a way to snowball that into something more.
Okay, for now though, that victory stops the snowball from the Hawks here. They are going to be able to take themselves the dragon, deny the soul away. And Echo, we said it before, win con for Burning Core here. Get Flawless and Dice online. And Flawless, I feel like anytime Flawless finally gets to make the play, it's a good play. He's had enough of waiting here. And sure, I mean, Kinatsu, maybe not the ideal target, but you take that when you see it as well. To just brute force play onto this. Actually, the setup took longer than I expected here. I just remember the Flawless dash in at this point to absolutely punish Kinatsu. That modified insect into Dice as well. And then the hostile takeover was massive, because it's hard to land. And sure, it didn't actually land on that many targets. I think it only actually hit Blank at the end of the day, but it zoned everybody out. And you could see that Rhina and Blank could not get out, and the rest of the team just had to abandon them. And getting the kill onto Blank was the best possible target, because that's the jungler, no spite, objective secured.
Yeah, absolutely. And with that hostile takeover coming out, Blank just really couldn't move. And it was so nice to see as well the positioning coming out from Dice. Goes behind that wall here, waits for Flawless to just absolutely send Dasher over to him with the kick, and then tries to get that kill. Falls a little bit short, but does so much damage where they have to back off, and they can't afford to take the fight. Kinatsu needs to be careful here. It's getting quite a bit of a beating there from Dice, but does do a bit of damage in return. And so with them taking that Mountain Drag, that puts another 5 minutes on the clock before they have to face yet again the dreaded team of the Hawks for the soul point. So hopefully they can find something in the meantime here. The flash over the wall, they're going to find Flawless. The whole team converges on them, and there's nothing Flawless could do to get out of that one alive. And with the jungler down, that should be a free Baron. There will be no smite to contest. It's going to be up to Yuhi and Fujimoto to make something happen here. And I don't know if they have what it takes.
Ray Farky's here TP'd in. You have no choice at this point. You've got to kind of pick that fight here, but Baron down to less than half health.
Ooh, Call the Forge got coming in though. Bit of a knock up here on Dasher, looking for something. Hostile takeover. It's just too slow though. It travels too slow, and so no one really going to be affected by it. But they will scare them off from the Baron and get that reset. Just need to buy Flawless a little bit more time, who is almost back up on the board. Another 14 seconds before he is there. So if they can just do that again, Dice is going in from that back line. Maybe he can find something here. Ray Farky looking to give him that opportunity. The Baron is down to 5k health. They're running out of time. Dasher incredibly low. Can't quite get them though. They're looking for something who cannot do this, and they're all incredibly low because of the Baron. So if they look for the opportunity, this would be the one to take. Kinatsu stuck behind the Baron. Everyone's going down. Kinatsu should fall too. The Baron's gonna fall as well. No, they won't get it just yet. Finally, they grab it. Ray Farky looking for Marble. Won't quite find it. Won't back off. But Dasher, is he the hero? No, he's not, as he goes into the ground. This was the most delayed fight I have ever witnessed. But Burning Core somehow managed managed to find a way to come out of that one victorious.
Well, Echo, we said it, right? Baron's the place to throw. And if the Hawks don't do Baron, Burning Core was struggling to find some way, any way of getting back into the game. And honestly, on this first attempt at the engage from Burning Core, I thought, okay, they're done. The Call to Forge God comes through. They can't follow up. Hostile takeover cancel at the back. But now they're out of options. Surely the Hawks are able to take this now, right? There aren't the big team fight ultimates, but it was that deep mission from Dice into the back line, which puts them in a really bad spot. Dasher almost dies right off the bat. And you can see the moment Dasher got chunked out like that, Hawks panicked and they didn't have enough damage to cut through Ray Farkey this time. He's gotten tanky enough, and the free fire from Yuhi here, Marble getting corralled in, meant that he couldn't kind of skate around and do all the damage. And if you have to just stand up in a straight fight against Yuhi there, well, the Aphelios is doing a lot of damage currently.
Yeah, and Dasher with the TP as well. Gets one pick, but that's about it. But yeah, Dice just with the Spec Ops mission behind enemy lines there. Beautifully dashes over the wall. I feel like he almost just kind of panicked a little bit when he got hit by the Rhina Q there from the Leona. And so he just kind of instantly decided to, click W, head on back to safety. I feel like he probably could have get that kill on Dasher. But at the end of the day, it all worked out. It's all good. So no one's complaining here. And now with that Baron buff, they are just sieging these turrets here. Bot lane, both turrets are going to fall. That is going to be huge. Drag is up in 40 seconds. So now we do see yet again another, this time around though, should be a full HP fight. And now Burning Core is going to be put to the test.
Yeah, and not only is it going to be a full HP fight, but Burning Core have the lead in gold for what feels like the first time this game. We saw that gold graph for a little bit there. They only had it in the very, very early. So Hawks have to be careful with this. And part of me actually just wants to see the Hawks risk it, even at the expense of their life.
Yeah, Flawless looking to find it all, but a Keeper's Verdict is going to come out. Nice little stun, but now Flawless. Terrible spot. He knows he cannot go down. If he does, that means there's no smite left for his team. He's trying his best to fight, but it does not matter. He will go down into the hands of Marble. With that is a huge piece off the board here for Burning Core. And so now they're going to have to do the same kind of thing, right? If they don't want to lose this drag, theoretically, they have to buy Flawless another 40 seconds. They're just going to have to zone to the best of their ability. Kinatsu, in a bit of a bad spot, is going to hop over the wall. They're going to look to try and find him. The handshake coming out. That is not a handshake I would have taken because you're going down into the grave. Goodbye and good night. And maybe with that, they might not even need their jungler. Maybe they're just going to try and start it up. Not looking too likely. Yeah, okay. Please don't do it. Don't get please don't. Yeah, please don't get blank that opportunity. They're not really sure. They're kind of looking for Flawless once again up in these 13 seconds. Oh, he's gonna get spotted out there. Dice, careful there. Needs to definitely be careful. If he goes down, that is a huge damage dealer coming out. But they started the dragon for them. We do see hostile takeover coming up, buying themselves some more time. Rhina does get caught out though, and it's gonna go down. The dragon will still be taken though. That is Soul Point going into the hands of the Hawks. Dice trying to find something, won't quite find anything. I don't know why they started the dragon. They just had to buy Flawless a few more seconds.
Yeah, it got a little bit too hyphy there, I think, for the side of Burning Core. And now that's Mountain Soul over the side of Hawks here, who already have pretty good skillings, have a bunch of tanks, and Baron buff has worn off as well here, Echo. So Burning Core, they got a lot done, but they're still, not in a great place to end it. Dice once again trying to spec ops into the back line here. Not going to find anything, but look at what has happened since the Baron's been taken, Echo. Yes, Mountain Soul has gone over to Hawks. That's a permanent buff. Very, very important. And more importantly, Elder is going to be the next dragon now. That's not something that you can look to burst down. That one's going to feel a lot like the Baron. But Burning Core have equalized turrets across the board. Both teams are looking at pretty much, the base turrets. In fact, Burning Core actually have more turrets standing since their top and bot inners are up. And for all that we say Hawks are comfortable in the late game right now, Burning Core are putting on one of their better late game performances so far. They really, really want to, for the first time in their history, make it past the 5th, 6th spot in playoffs.
Yeah, absolutely. The Hawks going, damn, we might have taken a bit too much time this time around. They gave Burning Core one too many chances. They capitalized, and now Burning Core ahead in gold, ahead in kills as well. Obviously not Drake's. That's going to be quite big, but like you were saying, right, that Elder Drag is going to be one of those prolonged fights as we saw in the Baron, and we saw how masterfully, well, I don't know if masterfully is the word, but it worked out in their favor for Briticore, to say the least. So, hey, maybe they can pivot that around again and make that same kind of thing happen. Gonna have to wait and see. We do see actually Kinatsu has found his way to sneak into that bot lane, looking to get rid of that pesky tier 2 turret here. Is getting spotted out, knows that he's got to dip sooner or later, so he's just gonna let that minion wave crash in and most likely just get out of there.
Yeah, he's kind of scared right now because they don't have full vision on where everybody is from the side of Hawks. But look at what vision they do have. The Hawks have actually, Burning Core has not fully cleared out all the vision around the Baron pit, or at least the entrance to the Baron pit. So anytime they're waffling right now between mid and Baron, that's granting vision to Kinatsu. And Kinatsu has teleport as well. So when that Baron spawns in 15 seconds, Kinatsu could just TP there. And the rest of the Hawks just need to stall. The longer you can stall, the better, because Kinatsu can solo take everything. He canceled his back. He's still looking to push right now.
Yep, absolutely. He's going like, y'all got to send someone back to match me if you don't want to be losing your base right here, right now. And all of Hawks are like, you know what? Go ahead, have Baron. You won't be coming back to a base. So I don't know what good that Baron's going to do you, but they realize maybe we don't want to give it over just yet. But the Burning Core, they are decisive. They bait the TP out. So now it is going to be a fully fledged fight dice, looking for some kind of an opening here to get into that backline. But look at those shields at the moment. The charm coming out. So many stuns coming out. Ray Farkey taking as much as he can. Hostile takeover coming out. Doing a little bit of work here. Nice little double knock up. And right now, the entirety of Burning Core is just kind of separated at the moment. Flawless and Ray Farkey, both incredibly low. Rhina gonna have to flash out, and Flawless gets caught out. Goes down. Yuhi as well. Soon to follow. Goodbye. Gonna go down as well. Little dash over that wall. That Marvel might have bit off more than he could chew. The damage coming out here is gonna be able to escape, though. Ray Farkey can't quite take enough, and now Fujimoto next up on the hit list goes down, and Dice will be the sole survivor. And they're like, screw Baron, we don't even need that. Let's just full send this thing.
Yeah, they're just looking to end right now. And the
just get us out of here. Get us out. Just get us out. That's what they're saying. It was a good attempt coming out for Dice, but not quite going to find what he was looking for. And with those death timers as high as they are, I think we can confidently say that game one will be going into the hands of the Hawks.
You can confidently say that now, Echo, but we had this meeting 5 minutes ago. I was not confident at all here. My goodness. The Hawks with the late game comeback. And for all that we said, Blank hasn't been making too much action. He's been so passive. He's been pretty quiet. Even the poppies, we didn't see the full objective control we wanted to. That last fight, that was on Blank. The keeper's verdict to knock out Flawless and Yuhi really did win that fight. Yuhi was not able to pump out the damage, and Yuhi was the bulk of the damage. For all that Dice is flashy, he's popping, Yuhi's the consistent damage. And the moment Yuhi got yeeted out of there, the fight went really poorly for Burning Core. And even at the end, they're stopping Dice from re-engaging with that steadfast presence was massive, critical. And the SoftBank Hawks Gaming, this is why Roscoe Jesters avoided them. CGMA might be the biggest coin flip of the entire LJL, but the Hawks, man, they're a coin flip, but they're weighted a little bit more towards themselves there.
Yeah, definitely. I feel that Poppy pick we talked about it. It was going to be so incredibly pivotal. And it was that keeper's verdict stopping Dice from just getting into these tight spots when he was in these spec ops, like the line missions, bro. He had the night vision goggles on. He was looking for those kills. And also the keeper's verdict was so huge, especially in that last fight, separating. We were talking about, they separated the team perfectly. And then it's just like, you're kind of stuck in this in between. You can't get back and regroup with your squad. And next thing you know, you just get bursted into oblivion and you're gone.
Yeah, first time Blank's playing Poppy this split too. He's probably played it. He's played it before.
That's gotta hurt.
But yeah, in the LJ, it's his first time. And hey, it's an LJL special for a reason here, Echo. But we should probably throw it back to the analyst desk after a short break here to break it down in full detail as well. I cannot wait to see what the big brains have cooked up.
Welcome back, LJL fans. Good to see you again after a tumultuous game one. We had it all there. The LJL special. We had the slightly resident sleeper early game. We had the completely undignified blue one Ari pick. We had it all. Nightmare, how does it make you feel to see such a fantastic champion just completely shotgun through draft?
So, the only way I can describe this is, you know that meme, which is like something's gone wrong on your PC and it just says task failed successfully. That's pretty much how I feel about the B1 Ari. It's like I said, I mean, I got a million points in the champion. I love Ari to bits as a champion and all the rest of it. And it's great to see her back in pro play for some reasons, less good for others. But this is the kind of pick which I mean, I get that it's Dasha. I get that Dasha has been playing so much of this. It's a good blind pick, but you shouldn't be getting away with blue one Ari. It shouldn't work like this.
Yeah, that's the big thing, right? Is that it needs to go punished in draft. We need to see some kind of counter. It's the same thing when we've been seeing Veigar early from Rascal Jester. Stuff like this where you can counter draft it. And Burning Core really didn't opt into that. Instead, they go for some more traditional picks that we've seen from them so far, and it doesn't work out.
Yeah, that was we were having a big yuck up about it in the watch party chat about, oh yeah, they're just gonna pick Ari and just completely get away with it, and it was kind of criminal. Dasher had a really good game, just being the facilitator, you know, criticizing the builds, not so much damage wise, but was able to get the job done. As honestly, HAWKS played a lot more together than I thought they would.
That's true. The cohesiveness, the coming together after what we saw as
almost like we mentioned that in pre-game. It's like we know what we're talking about.
Maybe, but it could have all burned down in a moment's notice. The Burning Core did nearly come back in for a minute. So maybe the strength to go alongside our convictions. Outside of one or two pickups in the early game, most things were quite quiet. Was that what you guys were expecting?
No, definitely not.
Fair enough.
Definitely thought there would be some action popping off a little bit earlier, but I mean, some of these games, you know, especially when you get to the playoffs, nobody really wants to make any mistakes early, jump the gun, so to speak. But we did see a lot more proactivity from HAWKS, not as much as one would have liked for sure, but they definitely were doing more on the map than Burning Core were, I could say.
Was hoping that these teams would come in swinging a little bit more, something like we saw in Russell Jesters on Wednesday, because this team notoriously did not want to play pre 15 minutes. And especially with picks like the Lee Sin and the LeBlanc coming in, we assumed, hey, okay, so this is Burning Core trying to gain priority for the first 15 minutes. They want to use this to, even if they can't find leads into the RE, which is, you know, quite hard to find solo, they can use the pressure from the LeBlanc and the Lee Sin, they can convert that onto the rest of the map. And then nothing happened.
And I think that's the real thing, right? Like there's a point where like bits are there in isolation, but they're not connecting together. And I think we saw that from both teams. You know, as we said, the early game from Burning Core, we wanted more. And while it's always nice to kind of say, we're not behind in the early game, sometimes there is the onus. There's the onus on you to do something more, right? And I think that Burning Core gave themselves some options to play through. I don't think they gave themselves. I think the way that we described it when we were watching it back, just in one of the other rooms, was it felt like they had a disjointed map where you don't really want to play towards an Ornn, so you don't really want to play towards top side. You don't really want to play towards an Aphelios Renata that can't play forward that well either. So you've got mid jungle and not much else. And yet you still don't want the HAWKS to get to a strong mid game. So you kind of left yourself in a bit of an awkward, kind of in a bit of a lurch when you're between things. And they couldn't quite get things firing. But as we said, the HAWKS kind of gave them a bit of a route back into it. Things got scary for a while.
Yeah, they did. They nearly passed on back over to Burning Core. As you mentioned, when you only play for a mid 2v2 that it has a Poppy in it against the LeBlanc Lee Sin, you really got to wonder which sort of way that plan is going to end up. And the common answer, not very well. We'll have to see how Burning Core adapt in game two, but something we were all relatively impressed with this game was not DFM Bobby. It was not Steel. Indeed, it was Blank on his now really, really strong Poppy.
And this is a pick which the LJL has loved this split. We love playing around the Poppy. And I don't know whether this will kind of transition to other leagues or if it does go international. Again, we are looking forward inevitably towards MSI. You know, we are looking towards that point. And you have to say, how do you get away with Poppy Jungle all the time? I mean, DFM have been first picking it. This was a much later down the road, but once you pick certain things like the Lisa and LeBlanc, where you're meant to crush mid jungle 2v2, and we did say it's like, hey, mid jungle 2v2, that's where you have to play towards. The rest of the map isn't really looking too hot there for Burning Core. Poppy shuts that down pretty well. So in terms of the early game, lots of green lights lit there, and that point it nullifies a lot of what you want to do. And then the ults in the team fights were game changing.
Absolutely. Around that first Drake, it was the big one where you're like, oh, I don't know if that Poppy ulti has value there, but it was kind of the foretelling for what was to come, because repeatedly Blank was finding these fantastic ultis to knock out key members of the team. And I think we saw around that second Baron where immediately Marble is just not in the fight, and it's like, oh, sorry, he's just not in the fight, and it's like, oh, okay, they don't have the damage anymore, and then Ray Farkey's taking damage for free, and that's they just lose off that.
Yeah, 100% Blank was doing his best baseball impression, knocking people out of the park, hitting those home runs, knocking champions left and right. It's definitely like the Hawks, I can say, surprised me here with how, I mean, better composition wise. I do feel like this was a draft gap kind of game, just because Burning Core, like Namera said, didn't really have keys to play around. You want to like get dice ahead and have have that jungle mid synergy going, but it just wasn't really going to happen with that type of composition. So I would definitely love to see Burning Core go back to a more solid
I'm going to
composition.
hop in and say, do I think it was draft gap? No, I don't think it was actually in this case. Well, I think there were flaws to the compositions kind of on both sides. I feel like it doesn't come down to just that, because when you see the blank flankants, where you are just going straight down the middle and you punt the front line away, and you're like, sweet, cool, let's go damage just the isolated targets at that point. I mean, it does come down to a lot of execution in those regards, because I mean, you do have Ornn, right? You can just tank up the Poppy up the W. That's a way you can play around that. We saw multiple times where Ray Farkey was really zeroing in onto the backline, had some great call of the Forge Guards coming in across the team, and it felt like it should have been a game where Burning Core had the tools to fight. And it was fairly even for quite a long time. Now, that was something which was handed to them. Like we said, I think the Hawks kind of gave them that opportunity around the Baron. But I'm not going to go and sit there and say, look, this is just about draft. I think there's a lot of things on the table right now. And what that does mean, hopefully, is that we get a chance to see even more close games coming into the series.
Fingers crossed, fingers crossed. We've highlighted mostly Ray Farkey's role in this game, but we're going to cut it quick to a graphic of our two top laners, because Kanatsu also had a pretty strong performance this game on the Gnar. We're going to come to Oak first. What are your sort of takes on how these two titans of the top lane in the LJL faced off in game one?
Well, I think we definitely expected different picks coming in. Obviously, the Ornn being brand new for Ray Farkey, but Kanatsu has done the Gnar before, and this game particularly, I think, played his role pretty well. We saw a couple of fights where they lost, or specifically this Gnar was exhausted out of that Mega Gnar, and that was a big turning point for SoftBank HAWKS. But by and large, when he was on Mega Gnar, on the right timings in team fights to influence that properly. When he was using the ulti, he was providing proper disruption, and his laning phase especially meant that whilst we saw him get picked off once, he did by and large a good job of creating the space needed to kind of coast him through to their mid game.
Yeah, I can 100% agree on that. God, it's interesting to see, because like we've been talking about, both of these two top laners being such like strong carries, or just strong like role players for their team. Very much would love to see Ray Farkey on something different. Like the Ornn was kind of weird. Like I know we had talked about, it's like, oh, if he picks Ornn, he has to go Spellbook, right? Like we knew the knowledge that he was going to come into picking like that correct type, but getting him on something else more facilitating, like actually more active to keep him in the game and around these team fights, because he really was just there to be the damage soaking all, like I think he had like 5,000 HP at one point.
I felt like this was the case with the tank Gragas as well. And before his current run of form on this split with the tank Gragas, I was of a very similar opinion when he look, Ray Farkey is probably the best carry top laner we have outside of Ebby. This guy has real talent, one of the very best that we can bring to bear. But then when he has games like we saw on the back end of that split, where he can actually be hyper disruptive, actually have people carrying on his team. We saw the damage that Dice was doing in the late game, right? You have that, and if you start actually having a tank front line to work with, there's things you can definitely play around there. Now, we saw that Rayfarki's mechanical execution was not a problem on the on the Ornn. I do think that the Ornn was a good pick. I think there are ways that they could have played that out with very successfully with this composition. And I don't think tank duty for Rayfarki in this series is a particularly bad thing if you want to front to back. I think it's more of a team cohesion thing, making sure that you're aware of where the poppy is. How is that affecting how the whole team fight goes? Because that's more important to me. I don't necessarily think Rayfarki needs to be on carry duty. I think the thing which needs to come first is actually what we were kind of putting up towards the Hawks before this series. It's about team cohesion. How are you actually playing out your team fights as a whole? It's not individual picks. It's a whole ensemble issue they've got to solve.
Yeah, I just wanted to jump in on that point. I mean, like based off of the compositions that they had that last game, I just did not feel like the Ornn was in a good place because with how mobile the champions were, sans the Rhino Leona, just everybody being able to move around. Because like I think it was down at Dragon when they were having that fight, and for some reason, everyone on Burning Core decided just to cluster up together, and then we see Kenatu get in there and get that massive Gnar ulti. Like it was just situations like that, and you just had Rayfarki just kind of being around and like throwing out Ornn ultimates that were only hitting maybe one, if two people rarely. I just feel as if he's something on a more fluid pick that he could actually do more going on to the series.
So I'm going to be I'm going to be the mediator here and sort of throw in my 2 cents as a top laner, which might be a bit relevant. And it's no matter what you end up putting Rayfarki on, if the other 4 minions on his team are all completely stuck, you can be on Jace, you can be on Darius, you can be on Gragas. It doesn't matter. Game's over. Yeah, no matter what. So to facilitate DICE doing these things, I think you need the big guns. You need the big cooldowns. You need your Ornn ults. You need your explosive casks. And with that coming through, I think there is maybe not a bigger pick for someone to take than the Ornn, than having that charge, which so broke open that first Baron that, I'm not really sure how much further we can go here that isn't attackable in lane.
Yeah, exactly. I think Rayfarki was such a big facilitator for his team there. You can't really criticize that play. Instead, we should be just setting up these 2 top laners going, hey, look at the performance they had in the first game. Now it's up for the rest of Burning Core to pick it up coming forwards, because our larger eyes are on, hey, well, Burning Core, we thought would be taking the earlier games and SoftBank Hawks would be kind of unlocking draft as it goes. Now I'm going, okay, now what do Burning Core have left in their arsenal? Because we saw key picks banned away from them and really limited them.
I remember this is a best of 5. It is a best of 5. It's a very important best of 5 for both these teams. Again, bringing this open to a wider kind of scale. One of these teams will get past the first round of playoffs for their first time ever as an org's history. Burning Core's been around since 2017. Hawks have only been around since 2020 spring. However, still a big historical moment for both of these orgs and their kind of prospects towards their future. And when we're looking at the big players looking to have big games, this is so important now to get them into a point where they do have that agency, whether that is on a carry sense or a facilitating sense. They need to be able to impact this game. We saw that Dasher had that blue one, Ari, ended up working out for him. Rayfarki, I do think he was a standout player on that one as well. Question is, can they then kind of hold the flag high enough for the rest of the players to rally around them?
A difficult task indeed for game 2. Gentlemen, we're just going to very quickly, before heading to a swift break, get your quick recheck on those feelings. I'm particularly looking at Oak and Crow here. Are we still holding fast to those predictions, or are we starting to falter quickly?
Look, I said 5 games, and we're going to get 5 games. So I still got Burning Core going all the way up. You can stumble a little bit. You can pick yourself back up and keep going forward. So I'm not changing.
You're asking me if I'm going to belittle my beliefs and say change my mind now, then you've got another thing coming. I'm all down for Burning Core. They've still got what's kept in that spark to get them into that 3-1. So 100% favor, especially if maybe if they do pick these more early game orientated champions, let's get them on board. Maybe get Rayfarki in something that can facilitate that early more and double down on it. I
just wasn't bold enough. 3-0 Hawks.
I think I can appreciate the absolute confidence after that absolute shellacking. Only one.
The cleanest game I've ever seen.
The cleanest Hawks game I think we've seen in a long time. And with that, we're going to have a quick break, grab some water, be right back, because in just a hot minute, we'll be back for game 2 of Burning Core versus Fukuoka SoftBank Hawks Gaming.